Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Swami Jyotirmayananda Society, a journey to self-realization. Please subscribe our channel for the mystical meanings and to enjoy daily satsang with us. We are currently exploring the book The Mystery of the Soul, Katha Upanishad, commentaries by my Guruji Swami Jyotirmayananda Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. We are currently on section number 2, chapter 1, mantra number 11. This self is worth knowing by the pure mind alone. There is nothing in this world other than the self. So, whoever sees multiplicity goes from death to death. This is the instruction from Yama to his favorite disciple, Nachiketa, who, although physically is only 5, but emotionally and mentally, he's an old soul full of wisdom. Through him, we are enjoying this scripture. The self cannot be known by the senses since they are outgoing by nature, so we cannot get the answer from eyes, nose, ears, eyes, taste, touch, etc. An aspirant must withdraw the senses by the practice of vairagya or dispassion, and pratyahara, withdrawal from the objects, dama, control of the senses, and shama, serenity of the mind. And that is what makes the process a little bit hard, because we are so used to external and enjoyment of the pleasures and so on. So the discipline is required to go inwards so we can silence the mind. As long as the mind is filled with egoistic impressions of worldly enjoyments, so long the senses will continue to move towards the objects of the world. Therefore, an aspirant should generate spiritual impressions arising out of meditation on the divine self as expounded by the Vedantic scriptures. For this reason, the sages and saints emphasize meditation, contemplation, thinking, so we can expand our consciousness. And when the consciousness expands, then the dust and the dirt that has accumulated within starts to clear up. The impressions of duality and multiplicity that are sustained by the ego dominated mind are replaced by the impressions of non duality and unity of the self. So, the more we contemplate and focus on the mystery of life and the concept of non duality, the more we are cleansing our inner core. As a result of these impressions, the mind becomes free from raga and dvesha, the currents of attachment and hatred, because those are the twin poison fangs of the snake, attachment and hatred, and they keep us involved in the world process. So, such a mind is like a tranquil lake that reflects the expansive sky of the self. The sky assumes different shapes and sizes due to the limiting adjuncts of the objects of the world, such as the pots, vessels, rooms, halls, etc. The sky will fit into whatever it is, space. So, in the same way, the self assumes different names and forms due to the limitations of the mind. However we are. If we are rajasic, we become worldly. If we are tamasic, we become demoniac or lethargic. And if we are sattvic, then we become pure, white, and do good things. So that's how the mind operates. And therefore, even in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna keeps emphasizing on controlling the three gunas, identifying the three gunas, and then purifying yourself. When the mind becomes free from impurities, it develops enough intuitional light to behold the self devoid of all limitations. That's what happens. So, purification has to occur. There is no other way, because these encrustations and this dirt that has been accumulated has to be cleared up, cleaned up. It so devoid of the limiting adjuncts of ignorance in the form of the body, senses, mind, and intellect, the self is non-dual, eternal, and infinite. So the self is already pure, it is what it is, and it is shining. It's just that the crustaceans of dust and impurities that have to be removed within our mind, in our senses, in our ego, in our intellect, and therein lies the effort. Otherwise, we are already enlightened. We are all enlightened. Once we understand this, that there is only one non-dual concept, it'll be clear because the mirror will shine. Right now, since we see dirt, we can't fully comprehend this logic. As long as this vision of non duality does not dawn, an aspirant remains under the influence of ignorance. And therefore, ignorance is the root cause of all our troubles, of our birth also. Because of ignorance, we were born, because we were not fully purified, we were mixed. So he continues to see the multiplicity of objects due to the impure impressions of his mind. Led by desires, he continues to wander from one birth to another. Movement in this world of illusion is a process of entering into death's widespread snares in the form of attachment, infatuation, and identification with the varied expressions of the non self. And people who are non spiritual or who don't go into this depth, they actually depart from this world thinking that they are this body or mind or intellect or their family and whatever they have created. And that's what happens. So eventually, in some other life, they will come to this point where you are right now. There, that may happen for them 10 births from now, 50 births, 1,000 births, who knows? But that's what they say. And who knows, even if you get a human embodiment based on your gunas, if you did not lead a righteous life, by all means, you may very well be demoted into a lower embodiment of a cat, a rat, a mouse, elephant, who knows? So, uh, now that we have this body, now that we have this brain, the mind, the intellect, and now that we have Brahman within us, let us enjoy this, explore it, and find our nectar right now. Why wait for some other life? That is the resounding um, voice from the Vedas, from Sanatana Dharma. And this is experiential. They're not saying anything just by reading books or just, oh, because God is like this or we say like that. They have experienced it. These sages, Yama, Lord of Death himself, is giving this, and also all the sages who write these Upanishads and the scriptures, they are experiential. They have actually enjoyed that nectar, and they are giving you revelations that have come to them through their intuitive experience. So, therefore, that knowledge touches your soul, it touches your heart, it makes sense because it can satisfy your needs, satisfy your hunger. Otherwise, a picture may be very pretty, looks very good, but it doesn't satisfy you, your food, your appetite, isn't it? So that is what we have to go after, is the essence of this knowledge. And that is important, practice and theory. And when you blend the two, it becomes a beautiful combination. Mantra number 12. In the region of the heart, the self abides in a space the size of a thumb. He is the ruler of past, present, and future. Having known him, one does not find fault with anyone. This is the self you had asked about. So Nachiketa is being guided by the Lord of Death, Lord Yama. So Lord Yama gives a method of upasana or meditation for attaining the knowledge of the self. Through the self, though it is all pervading everywhere, yet he can be meditated upon as a luminous presence that is the size of a thumb, capable of being enfolded in the human heart. You will generally see that's the size of a flame also, if of the light that comes in, and that flame also has a dark oval inside. So that is what the Upanishads are trying to, and that's the Shivalinga also. Lord Shiva's linga. Linga means a sign, the sign of divinity, of godliness. So, however, though assuming a minute form, he is the ruler of past, present, and future. So it may be very small within the depths of our heart, but he is controlling this whole cosmos, because that energy is within you also. Or can you say you are within it? It doesn't matter. But that energy is operating inside of you. The space in the eye of a needle is very tiny. See, because you've created a limiting adjunct. The space is vast, unfathomable, big. But then when you put a small needle with a very small hole in it, that very small hole is also space occupied by that needle. So it is tiny, yet it is the same space that permeates all the objects, isn't it? Can you say this little space in this needle is different from the sky? The space of the sky, or the space of the mansion that you have? It's the same space. In the same way, the self that is comprehended in the small center of the heart is the same reality underlying all names and forms. So, with this, we conclude our satsang for today. We will continue mantra number 12 on our beautiful journey to self realization together. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Hari Om Tat Sat.